Heyo everyone, it's AJ, and today we are back with another light novel review, me spewing rubbish, and it is the long and awaited fucking Bungo Stray Dog Stormbringer, because it's as if I didn't need any more pain in my life. Oh, obviously the first thing I love to talk about is the fact that this is a fucking thick boy. Like, holy fuck, did Asagiri just go, you know what, I am just going to write so much pain. Like, I thought the point of light novels, right, where they're meant to be quite thin and just, you know, light to read. This is like a normal ass fucking book. Like, this is literally like double the size of nearly every other light novel that's up here. Obviously, the 55 minutes is, like, slightly chunkier, obviously. But it's not even as chunky as this. Holy fuck. So, obviously, for this wee video, I'm not going to go into every single page. Because that would be stupid. I'm just kind of talk you through it and spew the rubbish that appears in my head. You know, the usual. Try and keep it somewhat precise, but you know what it's like here. It's just gibberish. But anyway, let's start off with the prologue that introduces what ended up being my fucking favourite character, like, that appeared in this whole fucking novel. Oh, and that would be fucking Adam Frankenstein, the fucking robot. I honestly, I hate the fact that I cared about him so much. He gave me fucking Connor vibes, and if you've ever played Detroit Become Human, you know Connor, and he just gave me Connor vibes, and I just fell in love with him because I love Connor. Oh, he may not be the android sent from Cyberlife, but he was the android sent from fucking England. My god, honestly, this fucking robot's development in this story made me so fucking emotional. Spoilers. But yeah. Literally, it starts off with his plane fucking crashing, right? People obviously go to investigate thinking, holy shit, there's going to be like no survivors. Obviously the plane's like empty because it's just him. And then he just walks out like nobody's business, and he's like, oh, hello people. I am not like you. Do not worry about this. Please stay away from the plane. You could get hurt. Because literally, like, a kid goes up to, like, the door and the door flies off because of the pressure of, like, how it's crashed. And then out strolls fucking Adam just like, hello humans, I am not like you. Oh, and from that moment I was like, great, I'm gonna like this stupid character. Because literally it was just like, yes, this is fucking Connor. My god, here we go again. Oh. And then literally the prologue just casually was like, oh yeah, by the way, do you know of Chuuya Nakahara? And then that's just that, and it's like, great, that's just how it starts. Which then brings us into the actual main story, where we start off with Chuuya, who is, it's like a year after 15 years, so he's now 16, basically he's now been in the Port Mafia for a year, and he goes, well, it actually gives you a wee mini detail about what he's like when he wakes up and shit, and then, like, he just walks out, and there just happens to always be a black car that magically appears at the right time to then take him to wherever he needs to go. In fairness, he probably sticks to a strict schedule, so obviously the car can come whenever it fucking needs to come. But, you know, it's just like there's no communication for when this car, like mafia car, just appears and takes him to where he needs to go. And then in the car, like, he sounds like such a fucking adult, because he's like, I was like, oh, the papers and whatnot, and going over, like, the details, because he's been looking after, like, the fucking black market for, like, their jewellery and gems and shit. It's like, yes, like 15/16-year-old looking after the fucking black market. Honestly, this mafia man. So then he arrives at his destination, which is like this old like pool hall in like a wee quiet residential kind of area. And as soon as he walks in, he's basically met with like four knives and all that like pointed at him and whatnot, and just being like threatening him, like these four guys at the door, and then there's like a fifth one behind him just like me. And then it's just like, it turns out these are like his mates, and then he goes in, it's like, hi, surprise, we have a party for you to celebrate you surviving within like your first anniversary of being in the mafia. It's like, yes, because that's the way to do it. Hi, I'm just gonna come and threaten you and like whatnot. Oh. So then it turns out that Chuuya then ended up becoming a part of this group called the Flags, and it's got like an arraignment of like different kind of guys, all like young. They're all like young members of the mafia, all like up and coming like kind of people. And basically they kind of took Chuuya under their wing to basically look after him and kind of make sure that he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, but one of them is like an actor. Like, so he's a real life actor, like, on the outside world and everything like that, but he's also, like, part of the mafia. It's like, wait, what? Oh. I'll just say, like, it kind of annoys me that we didn't get to spend a lot more time with them, because they actually, like, sound, like, pretty epic. And the fact that, like, they did this for Chuuya, like, they went and made this party for him and whatnot. And Chuuya being, like, a fucking brat he is, like, a wee kid. Be like, me, I don't want this man in it. He won't admit the fact that he likes that they've done this for him. Like, literally, see, this whole party is, like, so dramatic. Like, really dramatic. Like, they literally get into, like, a fucking fist fight. Basically, because they kind of push at Chuuya's buttons a little bit, because it turns out Chuuya's rather sensitive over the fact that obviously at this point he doesn't really know who he is, because obviously I had a backy inside him and whatnot. So he's a little bit sensitive when he gets asked, where are you from? Which apparently then caused him attacking somebody on a mission at one point. So, the Flags ended up just bringing it up casually and just being like, oh, you did this, by the way, you've got a wee bit of a temper. And he's like, nah, I'm quite bad, I'm not that bad. And then it's like, so, where are you from? And then that's it, Chuuya just like fucking snaps, and then like, they almost have like, go out all, no, not like all war, but like, they literally just go at each other, just like, almost, not really obviously trying to hurt each other properly, but like, they all just kind of threaten. And then literally one of the guys, he's nicknamed Piano Man, because he literally just looks like a piano, because he dresses like head to toe in like white and black. Literally goes, can we just like hold off on this, because can we at least wait till like the party's over for us to like go into like the fact that, hey, I know what you're like looking for and what you're trying to get out of the mafia and whatnot, and the fact that Mori asked me to look after you and all that jazz. Because we had to make sure you weren't going to betray us and whatnot. And it's like, as you do, let's just have a party. And then he's like, oh, remember we've got like a gift or two to give you and whatnot. And it's like, okay. And then they literally go, there you go, here's the first gift. And it turns out it's a photo of little young Chuuya. And he is holding somebody's hand. Just like a little, I'm pretty sure it's in a wee beachy bit or something like that. But, aye. So obviously, the whole point of the fact is obviously Chuuya's trying to work out if he's human or not. And then here is this photo of him clearly as a kid. Like, as little, teeny little Chuuya. Like, obviously, does this help to prove that he is human? well, that's part of the gift. So it's like, yeah, and they're all like, oh yeah, so we did this and we did that and whatnot. And Chuuya even brings up the fact, it's like, shouldn't you not be telling me this? Because obviously Mori is like withholding like any information he has about me so that I stay within the mafia. And they just went, nah, we're just gonna give it to you. It's like, you're part of us now. Nah, here you go, here's some info. And it's like, they have like the most messed up kind of like friendship, but it's like really nice because they all did their own wee part about how to get this information, because obviously Chuuya's like sources and whatnot, like where he came from, is like super top secret and like hidden and like very like confidential and shit, so they really had to go digging and really had to like put their work into it. So it's a very thoughtful gift. And then Chuuya tried to act like a big man. It's just like, right, I'm gonna leave. I'm like, no, this is too much. I'm gonna. And it storms out, and then they're like, hey, by the way, we're having like a pool competition and whatnot. Like, we have drink and shit. Like, yes. And Chuuya's like, nope, I'm gonna leave. Nope. And he goes outside. They literally wait about 20 seconds. They're just like, no, hold up. Because they're like, should we go after him? He's like, nah, wait a minute, just 2 seconds. And then like 20 seconds later, Chuuya comes back and is like, right, I'm gonna kick your fucking mother arses. Like, oh, Chuuya. And yes, the fact that then they just have a pool competition, and then for the most part, Chuuya like absolutely dominates the whole game, which is funny. And also wondering if there's a wee bit of cheating involved, but I'm not saying anything. And then lo and behold, like, somebody, like, pots the whole, like, the balls in the holes, and then it's like, oh, Chuuya, you've been defeated. And like, wait, who did that? Da-da-da-da! Here's Adam. He's just fucking, like, infiltrated. They've had no idea. In fairness, are probably a wee bit tipsy / drunk at this point, so they probably didn't really know. But it was just a casual, like, hi, I'm Adam. And then that's when they're like, hey, excuse you, who the fuck are you? Oh. And he's just like, Chuuya, I'm here to save your life. It's like, excuse me, what? Because obviously in the beginning, you're kind of thinking, oh, great, somebody's going after Chuuya. Because he's like, oh, do you know of Chuuya Nakahara? And it's just like, but it's like, no, I'm here to save your life. Yay! Which then proceeds to Adam, like, kidnapping Chuuya. He literally just, like, kind of bundles him up. Shit, I dropped the book. And then, like, take him far away from places and, like, kind of, let's just say gaining a shit ton of distance, because he's like, I have to discuss with you this mission, but I can't do it in front of everyone else. So Chuuya's like, well, no, that's fine, you can talk in front of them, doesn't matter. Like, you've now kind of involved them by, like, infiltrating this bit. And he's like, see, my program says no, so I'm going to nick you so that we can talk in private. Yeah. And this is, like, all within, like, the first, like, 30-odd pages. This is, like, the teeniest little section of the book. Like, my god, there's so much in this fucking story. And then, once they get alone, Chuuya gets, a phone call from Piano Man, basically saying, hey, by the way, we're getting, like, called on a mission. Just come back later on, we'll get you there, and we'll carry on. It's like, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Yeah, it really doesn't happen. Adam basically then explains to Chuuya that he is being hunted down by poor villain. And I hope I said that right. God knows I've not done French in a while. And basically he is like the king of assassins, to the point where he is literally like assassinated so many like European heads and whatnot that they're kind of now in a wee bit of panic about him, because he just kind of went rogue because he can. And well, Chuuya just goes, yeah, no, you're calling bullshit. And he's like, no. And he's like, well, I know for a fact he is dead. And Adam goes like, well, how do you know? And he's like, well, I kind of killed his accomplice last year when I was like 15, and well, he told me that he died. So there's that. But then obviously Adam just being like, I am a computer, I know all kind of thing. It's like, well, we can have proof that he's alive. So you're wrong. But Chuuya just being like, nah, I'm out. That's a summary because they're like they have a bit of a more lengthy conversation and whatnot. But Chuuya goes, laters, runs away from him. Adam like shouts, it's like, you can't outrun me. And then he basically does outrun him because Chuuya like is smart enough to obviously use gravity, and like they go through a tunnel at one point and Chuuya just goes whoop, goes up to the top. Adam doesn't see that because he just keeps running, and then he just like kind of hangs up there for a wee bit, just like cool, and then just like comes back down. It's like, yeah, I know I can't outrun you. I can outsmart you though in ways. And then this is where the moment where I know Mafia card comes by him again, and it's just like, okay, and then basically goes like, you've been summoned by Maureen. It's like, right, okay. Chuuya starts to get in until he just looks down the tunnel. There is Adam sprinting the fuck towards him, being like, do not get in the car. That is Berlin. And turns out, yeah, it was. And there we go, we have a little mini fight in our hands. Here we go. Here we fucking go. Basically, Verlaine just comes out and goes, hey, by the way, you're my little brother because you're not human, and I'm also like this fucking lab-created person with like an ability and whatnot, like the whole singularity and whatnot being infused into a human, kind of like you and Arahanabaki. So we're brothers now, yay! Because I was the first and now you're the second of this stupid project that people want to do. And obviously Chuuya's just like, no, that's not right, because obviously with the photo he's like, hey, by the way, no, I have a photo, here's me as a kid, look at me, I'm in the countryside by the beach, that is clearly a tiny little person, that is clearly me. No, you're talking bullshit. And basically Verlaine is just like, nope. And by the way, you should be coming with me. Like, let's just go. Let's get out the country. Let's go out of Japan. Let's go to Europe. Let's just wreak havoc around the world. Because we should be both angry at it. Because we both hate the world. Or we're supposed to hate the world. That's basically what Verlaine is like. And obviously Chuuya's just like, no. And then basically at this point, Adam has hacked into the car. Because it's a smart, like obviously it's a high-tech smart car kind of thing. And basically takes control of the car and makes it crash. Which is hilarious. Like, the fact that Adam can just fucking hack into the car, just go, nah, let's go crash this car into a fucking truck. So then obviously with the wee crash, Adam like, hey Chuuya, wake the fuck up, let's go. We have a chance to escape, we can't let him get you. And that's where Verlaine just goes like, hey, don't nick my little brother from me. I'm just going to destroy everything. Well, not everything, but like, I'm just going to like level out the world and whatnot where we are and just knock out a few things. Casually. Obviously they don't get far because Verlaine just catches up with him and then starts a proper fight. So, yeah, that doesn't go well. So, obviously Verlaine being a lot more experienced fighter because they basically have the same ability. Hence why they're like the same project, and like Verlaine's like, oh, you're like my little brother because we're like the same. And, well, basically just mocks Chuuya for his fighting abilities. It's just like, see, you're like a beast, but like you're no better than me. Like, wow. And then Verlaine just literally gets bored, essentially, just like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna do something you've never done before. I'm gonna open up your gate for like 2 wee seconds and we're gonna see how much damage you can do. So, obviously, like, basically, let's bring out corruption for the first proper time. And yeah, Chuuya ends up just destroying a whole lot of shit for like 0.3 seconds, because he's literally opened it up for like a minuscule amount of time, and it just like, whoom, like knocked out things. It's just like, oh shit, yeah, not good, not good at all. Basically, with like corruption coming out for like the first time, literally wipes out like a whole load of stuff, to the point obviously Chuuya not being able to like handle the damage, because like the gate gets kind of like shut down because it's not like fully open, because like Verlaine is able to like just kind of shut a bit down again, but his gravitational force is still like going like mental, so it's still like affecting like the area around him, so he literally passes out obviously from like the sheer pressure of it. And he wakes up temporarily in a little crater that he's made, like, as you do. And then lo and behold, we have our little boy Dazai appear, just to mock him, be like, you can't even go out gracefully, can you? It's like, I had to be fucking you, didn't it, Dazai? So yeah, so then Dazai just picks him up, and like, because obviously Dazai's touching him, the gravitation just goes whoop. But jeez, obviously the first kind of proper use of like corruption, obviously apart from the time like 8 years ago, or slash 9 years ago at this point now, because it was like 8 years ago and like 15 years. And by the way, this is still all in the first chapter. All in the first chapter. I am literally trying to condense as much as I can, but I'm really trying to explain things. But the chapter's not even over yet. The chapter's not even over. So eventually when Chuuya comes back, like comes to, basically Adam like explains, hey, by the way, like Verlaine like got in, like somebody's helping him, and like he's got like these wee kind of totem things made out of this special kind of wood that he's like planning to give out as a kind of calling card for these people that he's going after, to make sure that he gets you. Like, this is literally his whole plan, is to get you away. And he's going to literally just destroy everybody that kind of ties you down here, that keeps you here. And the first one, unfortunately, ends up being back at the pool hall. Because Chuuya goes back in and he locks in, and he literally sees basically all of the flags are dead. Bar one. One is still conscious for like a couple of minutes, even though half his body's missing, kind of thing. It's just like, yeah. And that was the first victim. It was literally his pals in the flags, because obviously they were like kind of like his support group kind of thing. So they were like the first proper target. So see, obviously when the Black Corvette came up to pick them, saying, hey, you're getting called onto a mission kind of thing, that was just for just absolutely wiping them out, because obviously he'd probably witnessed the fact that Adam had went in, picked up Chuuya and nicked him out and like took him far away, so obviously then they couldn't do anything. Like, the flags were just useless. Well, not useless, but you know what I mean, like they were helpless. And that's basically the first chapter. So we meet these cool people that are like supportive for Chuuya and shit, and then it's like, nah, you're dead. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, why can't Chuuya have friends? That honestly, I think Asagiri just goes like, you know what, let's create these nice people for Chuuya that make him feel like human and shit, and like bring out the best in him, and like make him like supported and whatnot. Nah, let's just kill them off, or let's make them like walk away. Let's just like abandon them and whatnot. Let's just do everything negative towards Chuuya, because why not? I'm not petty. Nope. Not petty, because Chuuya is like my favourite, but still. It's a shame, because obviously Chuuya just blames himself for it and whatnot, and then agrees to actually help Adam properly for it, because Adam had been like, hey, help me, and he's like, Chuuya's like, no. And now the fact that Verlaine's literally killed like 5 of his pals. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to help because I'm going to take this fucking bastard down. Which then brings us to the beginning of the next chapter. We're finally at chapter 2. And we're seeing it through the perspective of Adam. And basically it describes him going towards to get Chuuya, but he's going through like the town and picking up like food and like mostly sugary shit, because it's like, oh, humans need sugar to keep like their blood levels up and whatnot for energy and whatnot. And it's like the worst time because first of all, he buys gum. He doesn't know anything about gum. He wasn't programmed to know about gum, so he's eating gum incorrectly. And then he goes into the church to find Chuuya, and then literally just tries to start talking to him like really loudly and shit. And it turns out it is the funeral for the flags. And Chuuya's like, can you just shut the fuck up? It's a funeral. I feel bad enough as it is without you like trying to talk about this stupid case. Which is fair. And Mori, who's literally sitting beside him, basically goes, you know what? Nah, you just leave. You just go help Adam. It's just easier. It'll shut him up. That's basically how that interaction goes. Like, Chuuya's trying to obviously mourn for his pals and whatnot, because he obviously feels immense guilt over it, because he's like, oh, it's my fault. They would have died if it wasn't for me, because if Berlin wasn't trying to kill everybody, if it's attached to me, then obviously then they would still be alive. Eventually they go out and whatnot, and then they just try and work out like who the next target's going to be. And it turns out we're off to go see our favourite little backstabbing sheep guy. That's right, we're off to go find Shirase if it's in his like day job in a factory kind of thing. And it turned out that after the events of what happened in 15 years, Mori basically spread all the sheep around Japan so that they couldn't reunite again to like then try and overtake the Port Mafia again. So yeah, you can imagine the warm welcome that they had when they met up again. Shirase basically just went, nope, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Basically just throws like a vase at Chuuya. Actually, Chuuya just lets it actually hit him for some reason. And then it's a case of, right, let's go. And then he starts running away because he's like, I want nothing to do with you. So then Chuuya just goes, right, let's go after him. We need to kind of protect him somehow. Because he's the next target. Because obviously Chuuya still cares for him. Even though he doesn't want to admit that he cares for him. But he does. Because he's still loyal as fuck to the... and obviously owes a lot to the sheep. Because obviously they found him, took him in, blah 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 blah. 15-year stuff. And it kind of turns awkward because, well, Shirase just basically goes, yeah, I'm going to become the new king. He's fucking delusional as fuck in this story. But anyway, it's like, I've been gathering up weapons. I'm going to bring everybody back. I'm going to recreate the sheep and I'm going to be the king. Stupid boy. Stupid boy. So he pretends to be like, oh, do you know what? Fine, I'll come with you, because obviously you've just explained the fact that somebody's going to try and kill me. And somebody's out to get me. And then it was like, right, do you know what? Actually, no. Fuck you. I'm going to go in my bike and drive off so that yous don't get me. Because I don't trust yous. It's like, in fairness, that part's fair. Even though Shirase was the one that fucking backstabbed Chuuya. But anyway... Which then leads to a fucking epic chase scene, and then ends with Shirase getting caught by the police because then they caught wind at the fact that he has fucking weapons. Yeah. So then he gets arrested. Then Chuuya goes with him because they're like, hey Chuuya, we know you're here. And it's like, great. So, which then leads us to the police station. And Chuuya and Adam are in like their own wee room, like interrogation room. Shirase's already like in the fucking cell because obviously they went to his home and found all the illegal like weaponry that he's not meant to have. And yeah, so obviously Chuuya and Adam are now coming up with a plan of how to get Shirase out of the fucking jail, because obviously Verlaine is just going to come and just murder him here. And the detective is basically kind of taking up the case and whatnot, tries to negotiate with Chuuya and basically goes, here, we can let you and Shirase go if you sign this agreement. And it's basically like, you become a source for us. Yay, i.e. How to take down the Port Mafia's black market ring, which is what Chuuya looks after. And Chuuya just goes, nah, fuck you, kind of thing. And it leads to like the detectives then trying to break Chuuya by then like telling him like monotonous stories, which actually then ends up helping him in the end, but hey ho. So eventually Adam gets out and then is taken out the room because it like, oh no, it has to be between Chuuya and the detective. And Adam then finds his way into the jail cells and whatnot. He actually like fucking bluffs like at the reception, hacks into the machine to then make up a code to then get the transfer, because he's like, oh, we're transferring like inmate like blah 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 blah, which is like Sharice's number. And then he's like, oh, what's the number? And he's like, what? And it's like, what's the transfer number? And he's like, oh yeah, the transfer number, it's oh yes, it's this, because he literally has to hack into the machines, put in the code and be like, oh yeah, here's the transfer number. But yeah, so then obviously Tracy's like, I ain't fucking going with you. And then Adam, against Chuuya's wishes, literally tells him about the fact that basically Chuuya still cares about him. That's why Verlaine is after him, because Verlaine wants to take him out of the country and he's basically killing anybody that would keep him here in Japan. And it's like, oh, it's a lot longer than that, but I'm trying my best. And with that, Verlaine appears in the fucking prison. What a shock! What a shock! However, despite the fights that happen in the prison and whatnot, Shirase's the one that isn't the one that gets killed. The detective's the one that gets killed. And the worst part is, they thought that it was Shirase. No. The person he was actually after was the detective. Which is what, and it was planned, because it was revealed earlier on when Adam was saying about the whole wooden totems things that basically his calling card for death. He also asked for a specific mobile phone, and basically it turns out that the exact same mobile phone as the one that the detective owned. Also, as part of this whole partnership with Adam, Chuuya basically makes him like override like his superiority like order, so that Chuuya then ends up being like the main like authority to like tell Adam what to do. So I guess the point where Adam just keeps calling him Master Chuuya, because like Master is like the highest order, so he's like keeps just calling him, he's like, Master Chuuya. And Chuuya's like, can you not just call me that, please? And he's like, if I don't call you that, that means you're not the highest rank. And he's like, nope, right, we're going to have to keep it, because I need you to listen to me. So that is basically the premise of what happens in chapter 2. It's basically one last big fucking battle, like trying to protect Shirase and go after him, and then like trying to kick him out of the fucking prison, to then also then fight Verlaine again, which then like throws a spanner in the works again, because it's like, you weren't the target, the detective was the target, so why would this random ass detective like be important to keeping Chuuya in Japan? Which then leads us into chapter 3. And it turns out that the detective has a brother who is very connected to Chuuya, unfortunately. Basically, he is like the main one of the main researchers and developers of the whole project that Chuuya was involved with. So Verlaine had gotten the phone to basically hack into his phone to then hear where his brother, who goes by the letter N, find out where he is, and then go and kill him. because basically En holds the whole power of whether or not, like, Chuuya is human or not. Because obviously that is the big thing that overreigns over Chuuya's head is he human or no? So, with that, they then try and figure out how to fucking find him. And, well, Adam is able to kind of pinpoint where he's meant to be. He's like, oh, he's in this, like, kind of research facility, which is meant to be, like, here. But, and then at one point, he literally just, a voice just kind of comes out of his, his mouth hole. And basically En then rehacked into Adam. Because they were like, oh yeah, you're meant to, like, clear your, like, route, by the way. Like, see, when you hack into our things, you should really try and hide where you are. Because we just hacked into you again. So, yeah. And Adam is, like, so disgusted by the fact that somebody's speaking out of his body. Just like, ugh, how dare this person use their voice through my body. So, with that, they find out, like, En tells them where to go, like, how to get in and whatnot. So, they then reach the research facility, and Shirase is still there because he is literally just throwing a little bitch fit, being like, I could still be a target, like, I am not leaving, you're meant to protect me, even though he's meant to be this fucking king, but he's no... He's so delusional, this boy, my god. They're going through, like, the research thing and whatnot, and, like, to get into, like, the main kind of part, they're meant to be getting, like, blood samples taken off of them, just to make sure. And the guy is trying to prick Adam's finger. No luck at all. The needle's, like, breaking and shit. It's just hilarious. Because it's like, hey, by the way, I am not human. I am a robot. Hello. And he literally basically, like, extends his neck just to show, it's like, hey, this isn't skin, by the way. Like, I have, like, robot-y parts. So it's like, they eventually let them in. And they basically take them, like, deeper, like, into the ground. So it's just, like, it just never ends. So, like, there's one level, and then another level, and then another level. And then it gets to the point where Chuuya and the researcher, like, go into this lift. But then they shut it immediately, and it's like, so, yous aren't coming. Fuck yous. Really, this is only for Chuuya's eyes, and Chuuya's eyes only. So by this point, they're kind of, like, explaining what the research was, the fact that it came from France. So there was, like, this whole fucking France project, which is obviously Berlin. And basically it's like, we want to replicate it, so we did that, and then we found you, blah, 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 blah. And explaining the fact of taking the singularity of a person and then exchanging it and then putting it into another host kind of thing, so that it's supported. Because singularities are very dangerous and cause massive damage, especially with these gravitational ones. So, the last, like, kind of section that they go into is basically like, so this is the part where it basically will confirm whether or not, like, you're human or not, or, like, give you an answer. And I don't think you would obviously want other people to see, because frankly it's probably going to traumatize you for what you're about to see. And yeah, this whole scene is just like fucked up. So we go in, Chuuya sees a tank, and it basically goes up to it, and then there's, like, a thump, because he puts his hand up to it, and then there's a thump, basically, like, a hand appears, but it's like this kind of blacky blue liquid that's in it, and En just goes, here, let me drain it. There we go. There's Chuuya in the tank. And here we get the proof that Chuuya is a clone. Or, one of the Chuuyas is a clone. Hey, hey. Yeah. This is, like, one of the things that I knew, like, before the story. That was, like, one of the things that got spoiled for me, like, last year. They basically, like, Chuuya's a clone kind of thing. Hence why, like, in previous, like, main Bungo manga storyline, basically, like, Chuuya, Clone theory. But anyway, so no, but like that was like traumatizing enough for Chuuya just to be like, oh my god, I'm a fucking clone, right? The like container basically like topples over, and then like the Chuuya in the tube like comes out, and then can't support itself because it needs this blue black liquid to like support itself, and then the skin just starts to melt. Like the skin just comes off like goo, and then all that's left is this fucking skeleton. It's just like, what the fuck? First of all, what the fuck is this liquid? And second of all, like, it just like, see, when I was reading this, I was just like, why the fuck was nobody talking about the fact that like this happened? It's like, oh look, Chuuya's secured. Why did you not talk about the fucking skeleton and the skin melting off? I can't get over this fucking skeleton. So yeah, so then it's like, there you go, there's your proof. Like, what? So after witnessing the fact that he just literally witnessed himself just disintegrated, essentially, he starts to feel kind of weak and kind of drowsy, and then he's like, oh shit, I've been poisoned. Remember how earlier on I was saying they got like their bloods taken when they were going into the facility? Yeah, that was poisoned. The tip was poisoned. So Chuuya then passes out. Shirase then starts having a flare up, and then Adam's like, what the fuck is going on? Adam is actually able to fucking save Shirase though, so like at least he had that. But yeah, En then takes Chuuya to then take him away to basically torture him because they want to take Harabaki out of him to then put like elsewhere, but Chuuya's just like, no, I don't want you like messing around with me, kind of thing, which is fair. And they're just like, well, we're just going to torture you, we're going to like drug you up and like make you hallucinate and shit, and then put you for pain and electrocute you and whatnot. So yeah, we don't give a shit the fact that you're a 16-year-old child. Like, we're just going to torture you. Yay! And all the while Adam is trying to protect Shirase and trying to get away from like guards that obviously now come to try and take them away, because obviously they're meant to be like passed out from the poison, but obviously Adam, not being human, obviously says like, haha, I'm out. Ends up putting Shirase like in a locker room kind of thing, just like in a room, just locks him up and just like, yeah, you can just stay there, I'll go try and find Chuuya. Which then results in him bumping into Dazai. Yeah, Dazai appears at the facility. He's already worked out for the fact that this was going to happen, and that Chuuya was going to get tortured. And obviously Dazai like, yay! He's like, I could have came slightly earlier, but I kind of wanted Chuuya to feel human with a wee bit of torture. Like, Dazai, my god, my man. So they ended up pairing up and then going around and whatnot. And then you find out that it was actually Dazai that's been given Verlaine information. It's like, Dazai, what the fuck? But it makes sense later on. But then it's still very shitty for what he did. It's very hard to like you, Dazai, when you do shit like this. I swear to fuck. So they end up working, and it's like, right, it should be this way, that way. We're going this way, that way, forwards and backwards over the fucking research facility. And whilst that's happening, Chuuya then fucking hallucinates like everyone like talking to him and whatnot, and like he starts feeling guilty and basically saying why are you doing this kind of thing. And then at one point Verlaine appears at the very end, and he's literally still thinking he is still in a hallucination because like Dazai's appeared, all the flags have appeared, like Shirase's appeared, so he's like, oh yeah, you're just another hallucination, because obviously you would appear, because why the fuck not? Oh no, it's the real deal. And yeah, not good. So basically, Verlaine then basically gets into his head, be like, hey, you should then try and go kill N, because he's basically just tortured you. He's just put you through pain and whatnot, just for his own little enjoyment kind of thing, for this whole research project. Like, he's just playing with your life kind of thing. So Chuuya then agrees to then go off with Verlaine, to then go find N, to then go and kill him. Essentially. TLDR, basically. And they find him. N is literally like shitting himself, because obviously he's just a basic ass human going against gravitational manipulators. And Chuuya's making this whole big speech about like how he's going to like hurt him and whatnot, but basically what he did was wrong, blah 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 blah. And he then does a fast one. He's like got like to like hurt him and whatnot, and then he's basically sends it backwards and puts it like through Verlaine. Hey! And obviously because it caught him off guard, he couldn't stop it properly, so he still semi got like a pole like kind of through him. Somewhat. And there we go. More fights begin. The weirdest fucking fight's about to start. This is still all in chapter 3, by the way. Like, we're not even hit the last main chapter, like chapter 4. There's basically 4 main chapters and then a prologue and an epilogue. Like, it's insane. It's very obvious because of how long this fucking book is. So remember that skeleton from earlier on? Yeah, that appears again. It literally appears and fights Chuuya. So basically, N has like a system where he injects like that blacky, bluey stuff. Somehow, I don't know how it works, like into the skeletal body. So it's got like fucking pipes coming out of him and whatnot. So that there is a walking, fighting skeleton with the abilities. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, why was nobody talking about that part? Like, I don't know why I feel like I'm going insane over like this bloody skeleton and nobody else seems to have. But yes, so Chuuya's now fighting the skeleton of himself. Like, what the fuck am I reading? It's epic, don't get me wrong, but what? Yeah. What the fuck? Oh, at one point Shirase actually comes in and actually does something decent for once. I know, shock horror. He actually helps Chuuya, because he basically gets the pipes out of the skeleton and then the skeleton just kind of flops again, because it's like it's got nothing to kind of propel it, because basically the black stuff was basically using gravity to then hoist the skeleton up to then do stuff. Yeah. Because Shirase ends up waking up and then goes like, what the fuck is going on? Finds a lab coat and then just scurries around. Like, my god. Then it gets to a point where everyone kind of meets back up again. We're in the room where Verlaine and N are, because obviously they want N because he has all the knowledge and all the details and whatnot. Obviously they want to stop Verlaine for killing N. And obviously they want to stop Verlaine, obviously. So it then basically comes into one big ass kind of room with like Dazai, Chuuya, Adam, Shirase, N and Verlaine all just in the same room. And then Verlaine basically goes, Dazai, you little bitch. And then basically, to cut it down short, basically Verlaine then takes N and then just makes a big ass hole right up to the surface. Like it's nothing. And they're all just looking up like, what? And that's how chapter 3 ends. They're literally just looking at the mess and just being like, so where to go fight that? Cool. And then we move on to chapter 4, where it's basically the major battle of fighting Verlaine. And we find out more of the fact that basically Dazai was basically in cahoots with Verlaine to try and stop him from killing Mori, to basically change the order of how everyone was supposed to die, and made Mori last. And then through this, Dazai made his whole fucking master plan about how to capture Verlaine, because what ended up happening was Mori then ended up buying a train and stations so that he would be the only person on this train to then like go to the safe house. So that Verlaine couldn't get him, and turned off like all the cameras at the stops and whatnot. So then when Verlaine goes and tries to get Mori, it's not actually Mori. That was basically what happened. There's a whole train journey. We even get this perspective of the train driver for like a few like fucking paragraphs, because why not? And what had happened was Verlaine had put a hidden camera in, but they knew that they put a hidden camera in, so the real Mori walked into this train, and then at some point at a stop they swapped with the body double, and then when it came to the moment where Verlaine attacked the train and like toppled it over and whatnot, he'll be like, I'm gonna get Mori, because Mori doesn't have like an ability that would like protect him, and it's like, hi, it's not who you think it is. Turns out it was Hirozo in disguise. Yay! Best old guy. Also throughout this chapter we get little diary entries from Rembrandt's diary, because basically Dazai has it, and it kind of helps give you backstory about him and Paul with Verlaine, and how he found out that they basically gave each other's name, and it's just, it's just like, oh dear. Literally one of the last entries is like, hey, by the way, I've like tried to celebrate the birthday of Verlaine. We basically made this his birthday. I tried to give him a gift. He hated it. I brought wine and we went our separate ways, kind of thing. And then they did the whole fucking, obviously, infiltration to try and get Chuuya. But you get the wee diary entries, which are quite insightful and quite, like, it's handy. We also get like a wee bit at the beginning where Verlaine actually took N, and it was basically right up at the top of this tower thing. N's literally just like holding on for dear life, because it's like, if he lets go, he's basically going to fall and die. And then there's just Verlaine just like casual, like, yeah, cool. Because obviously using gravity to keep himself up or whatever. So with their little mini interrogation, Verlaine just goes like, right, I'm going to go get my boy, and then I'm going to come back and kill you. Sounds good. If you want, you can try and get down, but we'll see. So then that's how it ends up, basically. He knocks over the train, wrong person, Hirozo like sends him away, does that appear, goes like, sup? And then this begins the epic battle that Dazai's planned. They literally got out like 400 odd fucking Port Mafia members, and it's like a million snipers attacking them, and then all these skill users, which are never to be seen again. Because I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, so there's this lassie who can do ice, there's this person who can make like little black holes and like little portal hole things, and they can just appear and then disappear, and then there's this guy who can like change the matter of nature, and it's like, how the fuck have I not heard of anyone? And then it makes sense. Because eventually Verlaine just fucking kills them all. Because in the beginning it does work, like with the constant onslaught and whatnot, Verlaine's not able to really kind of control it that much. He's still able to like stand and whatnot. He's not like dead or anything like that, but he's having to fight against like matter changing and this lassie who can make ice, so then he's getting cold, and then any bullet that's hitting him, it's like frozen, so then it's hurting him extra hard, and it's all these kind of things built up, and Dazai's like, yep, sorted, we're doing good, like, it's gonna be fine. And then Verlaine just goes, you know what, fuck you, I'm gonna release my version of corruption, which is brutalization. Oh, that was a bad idea. Because then, literally, that was how most of the Port Mafia just gets wiped out. Yay. But then here comes the worst part. Dazai planned for that to happen. He basically planned the sacrifice of so many fucking Port Mafia members. Like, he knew this was going to happen. He's like, good, it's all going to plan. Dazai, you stupid tactician. Obviously, the thing in the Port Mafia is, like, obviously, they knew that there's a good chance they were gonna die and whatnot, but still, it's a wee bit mean. And with that, we get a wee mini flashback, like, from, like, an hour ago, like, previous, and that's like literally explaining all this. Is like, so this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, all the while being hung upside down, and Chuuya is literally just kind of punting them, essentially. Adam is standing there very confused. He's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, well, that's like caused this and this and this, so I'm not letting him off easy, but I still need him, so we still need to keep him alive. So this is the very minimum amount of torture that I can do to him. And he's like, I've got like 42 different ways in which, like, I can hurt him, or how I plan to kill him or whatnot, or torture him. And this is like the second, like, least harmful one. And Adam's just like, I do not understand any of this going on. And Shirazi's still there going like, yeah, that's normal, that's fine. But Shirazi's just being an idiot. So Daza explains all this and basically goes, well, so see, you and Adam, you're going to go in a plane and then you're going to jump down, but you're going to, like, act very neutral. You're not going to try and attack him, because when he goes into that state, he's just going to attack everything that's trying to attack him. Because basically just becomes a monster and just goes after what's the most, like, threatening. So if you're going in not being threatening, then it's all good. Yay! It kind of goes to plan. It turns out as part of brutalization, he basically makes black holes. So that's how a lot of these people die. Like, they literally just get sucked into these black holes and just go, nothing. And, well, basically, Verlaine notices that they're coming in a helicopter kind of thing and just goes, whoop, puts up a black hole right in front of them. So then Adam and Chuuya have to jump out, and then it just gets sucked in. And then need to try and traverse down to then avoid all these black holes. To then try and fight them. And it just gets messy. Right, so at this point, Verlaine is still looking like Verlaine. So basically, Chuuya gets down, and then they end up kind of having like a wee mini fight with themselves. Basically, the objective is to get him with, like, the poison that, like, because Verlaine and Chuuya are like the same. Poison affects him, as we've known very well, with obviously Shirazi with a knife, boom, from the back, and then obviously the pring and whatnot. So we know that poison works very well on them. So that is their plan, essentially, that Adam makes a poison, Chuuya basically distracts him, and then gets the poison in him. Like, it gets to the point where, like, Verlaine's, like, distracted enough that Chuuya can try and get this teeny little bit of poison that's literally tiny, just to pop in his mouth. However, we think that was going to work, but then turns out it does not, because Verlaine then goes, hey, I put, like, a command in you so that, like, see if you were to touch me, it takes me out of brutalization, kind of thing. Yeah. So, obviously, he then stops Chuuya from putting this tiny little bit of poison in him, so then they have a little kind of discussion, being like, kind of, they have their talk, because at this point, Verlaine was just basically, like, a neutral monster that was just, like, knocking everything out. And then Adam just comes up and goes, would you like to hear a joke? An android joke, and goes, pop! And gets him with his fingers, because he can edit what's in his fingers. Like, you can put, like, injections into his... He's got, like, wee needles in his fingers. And also a pen. We found that out as well. Can pop off, like, the top of his finger and he has a pen. But... so that successfully kind of knocks out Verlaine, and they're like, oh good, we've all done it, everything's tickety-boo, everything's worked out the way it's supposed to. Yeah, no, that does not happen. Because remember N, who's, like, stuck up in this tower kind of thing? Well, Dazai went to go rescue him. Well, not like him personally, but he sent out mafia people to go get him, and then to bring him to the battlefield kind of thing. Yeah, it turns out that N then basically killed the mafia people by poisoning them. And then they crashed, and then N just then brings out this fragmented particle thing. He basically shoots up a flare, but it has this, like, special kind of metal. And with it disintegrating into the sky, into the air, it then hits Verlaine, which then triggers him to go into, like, extreme mode of brutalization Doesn't matter the fact that he was knocked out with poison and whatnot. Oh no. This is like a special kind of concoction that can kind of just like trigger him. Which is ironic because the kind of substance stuff is in the hat that Rembrandt gave him, because like the gift was a hat and it was meant to help control his like brutalization and meant like he could activate it and whatnot on his own accord. Yeah, so that just happened. So unfortunately Adam and Chuuya then get like caught up in this like basically this brutalization just exploding out of our lane. It basically just becomes a gigantic fucking monster. Like legitimately monster. And just starts wreaking havoc once again. Like Chuuya and Adam end up like kind of stuck within him because it's kind of like that bluey blacky liquid stuff just kind of like continuously like just surging around him. And at this point he's literally just like not human like at all, and just heads towards like Yokohama, because basically at this point they're like on the outskirts in this like kind of rural kind of area and like fields and like in the forest and whatnot. And then basically now monstrous like brutalization Verlaine is heading towards the city because it's like where like the threat and negativity kind of is, and he just does not give a shit. And he literally crushes N on his warpath because like N is literally dying as well at this point, and he's just like laughing at the fact he's like, I'm gonna kill you, you're gonna like you're just gonna absolutely ruin this place, and I've done that. It's like, and this is like my revenge for you killing my brother. And he literally just gets squished. Like, Verlaine doesn't even see or acknowledge him because obviously he's not a threat, he's literally dying, so he's not actually doing anything. So obviously then it becomes the plan of, how the fuck do we stop this guy? Turns out, after Adam then finds a way to find Chuuya within this whole fucking body, he has like a special kind of bomb inside him. Yeah, which turned out was actually developed by H.G. Wells, who is in 55 Minutes, which was very nice to see. It's like, name drop! Yeah, they made like the worst kind of terrorist weapon and then disappeared. Woohoo! Cool. So then Adam has this inside him, and because at this point he's also lost one of his arms, he has to have Chuuya help him to try and get everything else kind of sorted. So what results in is Chuuya then having to take apart like his other arm to then use this kind of like a grappling hook, but then there's like this kind of special wire he's got around him as well to kind of keep him supported, and using obviously his gravitational with a lot of fucking oomph, they're able to like pull themselves out. But then Adam then cuts like, well, he separates himself from Chuuya, so Chuuya's still going outside. And then he basically goes back inside, activates this fucking bomb to then try and destroy, like, Verlaine. And most of it's destroyed. There's still, like, a bit of a tail left, because a tail developed. And, yeah, so Adam dies. Sacrificing himself and, like, making sure Chuuya was fine. He got him out. So he became like more kind of human because he was thinking, I need to save Chuuya, so I needed to get him out to then sacrifice myself to then like kill this fucking beast. My god, was I crying? I started crying. I was like, no, I'm too emotional over a fucking robot. Like I said, corner vibes. Oh, when you thought it was over, it turns out that this fucking epic terroristic bomb thing that H.G. Wells developed wasn't actually powerful enough for him. So because there was still a tail, the tail then basically grew again and he came back again. Like, and then proceeded to go back into the town. Oh, which then led up Chuuya and Dazai having to work again, like come together, come up with a plan, and they ended up going into the city kind of thing. And Dazai basically goes, well, I can activate you for corruption. However, like, there's a way that we could try and find your memories, because basically they wiped out your memories, but because obviously there was, like, kind of code within your, like, systematic things, like, put through you, like, conditions, we could have, like, tried to find your memories back. However, if I do this, we won't have a chance to do it. So he basically leaves it up to Chuuya. He's like, we have 2 minutes before you need to try and start attacking, or what, or we need to try and do something. And he's like, so it's either you don't do this, we don't activate corruption, and you can maybe find out your memories and, like, figure out whether or not you're actually human or not, or we can activate corruption and defeat Verlin to then save everybody. And Dazai tries to be, like, noble-ish. He's actually being, like, really serious at this point. Like, he's not doing it in, like, a mocking way. Like, they're, like, in this big platform, like, above the city. And he's actually being nice to Chuuya and actually kind of feels bad for Chuuya. Or that's the kind of impression I kind of got, because he was being quite serious. And he's like, right, I'm going to turn away, I'll leave you alone, because obviously this is kind of a big decision, and I know you don't want to see my face. And he's like, I know my presence just makes it worse. So, which is fair. Dazai knows. And he's walking away, comes off the, like, the hell kind of, it's like a helicopter kind of pad thing. Walks down the steps, and then he just hears a clink, and it's basically Chuuya's, like, jumped off already to, like, start activating corruption. And he just goes, show off. And then, there we go, and then we have the fucking fight of corruption against brutalization. Oh, obviously, in the end, Chuuya wins, obviously. That's how it goes. Technically through the help of Verlaine, because basically when he was inside the beast, he got a memory back from the night that Verlaine and Rembrandt, like, infiltrated. So he basically got told how to defeat him through his memory. Yay. So they win. It's all tickety-boo. You think that Verlaine is, like, dead. Then, obviously, because lots of things were destroyed, Japan's like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Tries to investigate. Europe basically goes, nah, you should just leave it alone, you know, it's all good. Because basically then they come over and do their own investigations. And then this is where we meet Frankenstein's creator. And I will be honest, I actually learned something from this book, because I did not know, because obviously the author of Frankenstein is Mary Shelley. But they didn't use Shelley as a surname. So they literally gave you her full name. So I didn't know, like, her maiden names. Like, what. And I was like, oh, that is so fucking cool. It was really sad of it. I'm like, oh, I've just learned something. See, this is why Bungo is an educational thing. I got to learn Mary Shelley's full name. But yeah, so and it turns out she's like a wee lassie. She's like a teenager. She's like a couple of years older than, like, Dazai and Chuuya, because it's like, I'm just an adult, so I'm assuming we're going to go by 18. But she's, like, tiny. And she's basically got her suitcase the size of her. So, like, she's maybe this tiny. And then, like, Chuuya and Dazai meet up with, like, the investigators and whatnot, and Chuuya actually points out is, like, the bodyguards aren't helping her with the case, and one of the scientist that's with him, like, oh no, the doctor won't let anyone touch the suitcase. Nope, she doesn't like anyone touching her stuff. So that's fair. And Chuuya has, like, a wee moment. It's like, oh, Frankenstein did, like, Adam did this, blah blah blah, like, Adam sacrificed himself for me, he was good and whatnot. He was like, and says, oh yeah, he's, like, he's definitely your best invention, or one of your best inventions. And she goes, yeah, I know, I would have loved to have developed him more and whatnot, or just keep doing that. But I think this will just have to do. She opens up the suitcase, and basically she's made a new version. Because they found that his arm that was used as the fucking grappling hook to get them out, and because it still had data within the arm, basically she was able to, like, bring him back. So then there was me being upset again because he came back. I'm like, I'm way too emotional over a fucking robot, man. But yeah, so then this leads to like a whole month of like all like England and France like investigating like the whole situation and finding out what happened. And then once they fuck off, Maury's like, so they didn't find out about Verlaine, did they? And they're like, And it's like, nope. Turns out he's still fucking alive. Yeah, he's just in like a very highly underground system, whatnot now. And the only reason why he's alive now was, remember Rembrandt? Yeah, so see when he was meant to have died the year before, basically he turned himself into a skill. Because you know how he could turn dead people into skills? Well, he used his own ability on himself, which then led to him basically somehow reviving Verlaine with his ability to keep him alive. Verlaine lost his, like, basically gravitational powers and whatnot, but he basically just became a human, essentially. But yeah, so there's like a whole big scene of them talking to each other again for like the first time in like God knows how long. Yeah, that's an emotional scene. And then it turns out that Verlaine basically stayed like underground. He didn't want to be up in the surface. He was like, I don't want to deal with the world. Like, he hates the world. Like, whereas Chuuya's like the opposite. Like, he like loves the world. So that's why he basically leaves Chuuya alone and like helped him in the end. Be like, oh, you're not like me, and I don't want you to become like me. And it turned out that Verlaine then ended up like training people. Like, he basically became a part of the Port Mafia, ended up becoming an executive, but like a hidden executive. And he trained like people to become like assassins. So like he trained like Koyo and all that, and Gin. And I was like, what? So literally right now, in the main storyline, he's potentially still in that fucking underground place, like still alive. Like, he needs to like fucking appear. But yeah. Holy fuck, that is basically like the majority of the story. We then go into the epilogue, and it's just slightly afterwards. Chuuya's now became an executive, and we get to see Hikuji and Akagawa for like minimum like 2 seconds essentially. And it's like, oh, we're doing like this stakeout in these people kind of thing. It's like we've been watching them, and then Chuuya appears. It's like, oh, that's fine. I'll take over from now. And Akagawa tries to find out why, and he's like, nope, you're not finding out. And it's like, it's top secret. He's like, oh, sorry for overstepping. It's like, yeah, leave. And then it turns out that the people that they were watching are Chuuya's parents. And it's like, oh shit. So Chuuya literally goes and watches his parents, and Maury's done this as a gift for him becoming an executive. And Maury's like telling him about, basically implying the fact that he is human because he's got like a scar like underneath like his wrist, and like from like when he was a kid, like, or there was like this kid story. He's like saying, so these two people, they had a child, they had a son. He got in a fight when he was really young with a bully, like that was older than him, which then resulted in him getting stabbed with a, like, I think it was a like a carbon pencil, like, and into his wrist, which then left a scar. And then turns out Chuuya has said scar. So it's basically the implication of he is the original one. He is not a clone, because they wouldn't be able to, or they shouldn't be able to, like, copy over scars kind of thing. That's the kind of impression that it's been hinting at and whatnot. So obviously this is the opportunity for Chuuya to meet his parents if he wants to, because obviously, or their Chuuya's been going for ages, and well, for years and years and years and years. And Chuuya decides to just back away, just like walks away and whatnot, and Maurice goes, you sure you don't want to meet them? He's like, nah, the Mafia is my family now. And it's like, oh dear. So yeah, so that's basically how Stormbringer ends. Chuuya driving away from his parents and whatnot, or implied birth parents, and starting off his new life properly now with more comfort in who he is as a person, which then a few months later starts the other conflicts that then ended up with the whole Bungo world. You know the beginning part of Dead Apple? Yeah, that whole fucking conflict then starts like a couple months afterwards. Yeah. But there we go. Finally, we're at the end. And then obviously there's the normal like afterwards from Asagiri, and basically he says like he wants to write all these fucking stories about Chuuya, but he's like, I'm just gonna leave him for the moment. I'm just like, don't fucking tease me with that. That is just cruel. But also, as always, we have a couple wee drawings. Like at the back, we've got some of Harukawa's obviously sketches. So we have Chuuya when he's 16, his lovely outfit, and then we have Verlaine and Adam, and the fact that Adam's got like a pure like technical eye, like I quite liked. So, but then we have all our little flags, R.I.P. boys. So we shame because it also states that Chuuya always make sure that there's always flowers on their graves for them, and it's like, oh, Chuuya. And obviously throughout the whole book there's obviously all the like the page panels as well. So like they haven't been missing, like for instance like ta-da. Just the first random one I could find. But yeah, so there we go. We finally fucking made it. My god, this took so long. And like there's still so many things I just kind of like skimmed over because I was trying to do it as quickly as I could. But it's a big boy. But anyway, I'm so happy that it finally got there. Finally got it. Can read it now. And I can finally understand all the pain. My god, the spoilers that I had were like nothing in comparison to that. But, heal. The good news is, like, it's came at the perfect time because the stage play is on right, or it was on, but now you can like watch it archived with English subtitles until I think it's like the 20th or something like that. So my plan is hopefully to try and watch that because I've actually never watched like the plays not that long after they came out. I've seen like obviously like bits on like YouTube and whatnot, but to actually like sit down properly to actually see like the play, but like ooh. So if you also want to do it, because by the time this uploads, you can still try and watch it for a couple of days. If you go through like Mal, like my anime list, they've got like a kind of collaboration thing going on, so you can go through that way to then get to the website to then watch it. And you basically, I think for me, I think it was like £23 when I looked into it, and you can basically watch it as many times as you want until like the 20th or whatever the date is. So I'm going to try and do that because that would be quite cool. Now that I understand the story, now that obviously I've seen it or I've read it, it'll be nice to see how they condensed it into like a play. And I feel like it'd be quite good. So, yay. I really hope this gets like animated or like it gets a manga version. Like, it would be so good. So good. But I feel like they definitely can't put that like at the beginning of like season 4, like you know how they did like 15 years in the dark era for like a couple of episodes. They could not put that in a couple of episodes, like no way. If they did, they'd have to scrap a whole load of stuff, and then I think people would be really pissed off. So I think probably their best plan is to do that as a movie like Dead Apple, but we'll see if that happens. I feel like they probably will because it's a Chuuya story. Everyone like Chuuya's quite a well beloved character, so there's a high possibility. Oh, but anyway, like 5 million billion years later, we got there. Hopefully I didn't bore you to bits. But, anyway, can't I complain? It's more Bungo stuff. Just makes me happy. So we'll see how the play goes, and then obviously we'll see what else comes from the world of Bungo Stray Dogs. Or Bungo Sad Dogs. I still love that little phrase. But anyway, until next time, I'm AJ, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.